What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Honkai Star Rail just did the most diabolical thing we've ever seen in the game, and they literally put Fei Zhao, Robin, and Topaz and Numby all in the same patch. Our wallets are screaming, our jades are shivering where they sit, and we're gonna have to prepare because for most people, we're not gonna be able to get all three characters if you don't already have one or two copies of those characters already, as well as putting Black Swan and Kafka both on the same rerun banners. It's just the level of like evil that you have to be to come up with these banner structures is insane. Nonetheless, that's what we're going to be getting in 2.5 in a few weeks. So the best we can do is try to stretch our J's as much as possible, hopefully get lucky every now and then, or just save for the best unit possible that will bring the most value to your account. And that's what I'm going to be discussing in today's video. If you enjoyed this type of content, let me know by liking the video, leaving a comment in the comment section below, and consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. I am not a Robin fan. I understand that, I don't know, Robin just grabbed a bunch of y'all by the, I don't know, he just grabbed y'all and just has y'all in this trance with her stupid singing. I do not like Robin. I'm just gonna lay it out right now. However, this is looking, and I'm just gonna say it straight up, I'm gonna start with this. She is looking to be the most prominent pick out of all of these rerun characters, including Fei Zhao. Robin is looking to be the top tier pick out of 2.5, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Let's just knock out a few things out of the way pretty quickly. If you already have Robin and Topaz, the E1 for Robin is actually insanely strong. Gives you 24% to all type rest pen when she's in Concerto, which is an insane amount of buffs. Ruan Mei has this on her ultimate, but this is a really nice E1, so if you're looking for that. Also, Topaz's E1 is a fantastic E1 as well for debuffing. Increases your crit damage by 25%, up to 2 times, so 50% crit damage is actually really nice. And all of these are considered separate debuffs, so if you are into the doctor ratio teams, the E1 Topaz is actually really strong. Now, if up to this point you have been like me, where I haven't really been interested in the follow-up meta, I really haven't pulled for any of the key pieces for follow-up. Even though I did play Doctor Ratio for a little bit, I do have Jade. Blade is one of my favorite characters. I do have Yun Li as well. I never pulled for Robin, and they've been working for me just fine. I never pulled for Topaz, and my follow-up units have been working just fine, but it's because I hyper carry them, and I kind of make up for what Robin and Topaz provides with pretty much skewing the entire team towards that DPS, which is not generally how follow-up attack units want to be played. But if you are like me and you're not really interested in the follow-up attack meta, then you're obviously going to ignore Robin, you're obviously going to ignore Topaz and Numby, and you're obviously going to ignore Fei Zhao and Moza for the most part. Now, for my dot players, if you are a dot player, you probably already have Black Swan. If you like the dot archetype, or if you're interested in the dot archetype, you probably already have Kafka or Black Swan. If you have one or the other, then the other one is going to be the best pick for you. Meaning, if you already have Black Swan because you picked her up when she released, then Kafka is probably your best bet to grab, because she makes, they make each other better. I think Black Swan makes Kafka better. Black Swan is just good by herself. But Kafka is a really strong partner, and the strongest partner actually for Black Swan, and vice versa. Black Swan is the strongest partner for Kafka. And now with the release of Zhao Q, if you have Zhao Shao or Zhao Q or whatever you want to call it, Fox Daddy, whatever you want to call them, those three, that team right there is an insanely strong team. So if you already have 2 to 3 pieces, picking up the extra piece is probably going to be the best bet. And now that we already know that these 2 pieces are coming, if you already have these 2 pieces, right, and you're missing Zhao Q, then now you know you can pick up Zhao Q. If you already have Zhao Q and Black Swan, you can probably pick up Kafka. So, and so on and so forth. All right, now that we've discussed the 2 main archetypes that are in battle in this patch, I'm going to go into each character's breakdown and then maybe convince you or dissuade you from pulling from said character. We're going to start with my least favorite one. It's Robin right here. I really don't like Robin. I don't like her singing. I don't like her voice acting. I don't like her design. I think she's just mid all around, but her kit is undeniably one of the better kits we have in the game. Her basic is just 100%. You are going to use this basic attack every now and then, but you don't need to level it up, which is fine. Her skill is one of the strongest skills. I really like her skill. 50% damage dealt by allies by 50%. This is a 50% damage increase, just straight up, no questions asked. Concerto makes it last a really long time. Speaking of Concerto, adds 22.8 attack plus 200, which in most cases, Robin's attack increase is going to be around 1,000 to 1,400. So depending on how much attack your Robin has, the attack increase is actually very, very significant, which makes her one of the better attack buffers in the game. Aside from that, she gives you the more, I call this the more damage mirage, because essentially what she does is she stacks this little additional damage, which is guaranteed to crit at the tail end of every one of your attacks, making it seem like your DPS is doing more damage than what it really is. So, and you're gonna see, oh, my DPS went up by a lot. Well, yeah, and at the same time, no, because your DPS did this amount and then Robin stacked her amount at the tail end. It kind of works like Ting Yun in a sense. But nonetheless, more damage is more damage regardless of where it comes from. It's really, really strong. She also has the 100% action advance on the whole team, which gives the illusion that your team is actually working better. And it kind of is, because you get the same results, so it really doesn't matter. But Rerun provides people for a way to like finish off a fight. Let's say you are struggling to get those 10 cycles, right? Let's say you are struggling to hit that 20 cycles remaining. She can be the difference between you clearing in 20 cycles and not clearing in 20 cycles. And this is something that I didn't really think about whenever she released, because at that time, like, you know, most people that have been playing the game like myself, we're not really concerned about not making the 10 cycle deadline, but a lot of players are. If you are one of those players that are struggling to get the 10 cycle clear, then Robin can be a difference between you getting the 3 stars and not, okay? Aside from the damage, the attack, the action advance, and also the extra tick damage at the end, she also gives you crit damage. And if it's follow-ups, she gets an extra 25%. So it's 45% crit damage, 50% actual damage bonus, like 1,000 attack, and also the action advance. It's a lot of stuff that your team gets by having Robin on the team. And the sacrifice you deal with that is that you just get one less character when she's in Concerto. But for follow-up attack teams, that's really not an issue, because they don't really, I don't know, they don't seem to be using as many skill points as regular teams, so it's not really a big deal. Aside from that, most of follow-up attack teams have Aventurine, which he doesn't need to use his skill for the most part, so he's going to be replacing Robin, or taking the load, the SP load from Robin, and then taking it out on himself. She also comes with a built-in Von Whack, which is really, really strong too. You don't have to build Von Whack for her, even though the extra energy is actually pretty strong. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Robin is a really, really solid character, even though I hate her guts. I am going to be pulling a copy of Robin. I've already said this before. I really don't like her, but she's one of those characters that you just have to have in your account. And this is one of the characters, actually in this video, we're going to talk about 2 characters that I regret not pulling. One of them is Robin. So even though personally I am very unbiased against Robin, I am going to have to give this character a solid 9 out of 10, or 8.5 to 9 out of 10 in the summon score, because she is really, really strong for pretty much any account. All right, moving on to the second character I regretted not pulling in my account. So when Topaz and Numby came out, I think it was a 1.4. She came out alongside Jing Liu, and I opted to pull for Jing Liu in my main account and not pull for Topaz and Numby, and I regret it to this day, because had I put full Topaz and Numby, I would have had more team options, because right now my Jing Liu, I haven't used her pretty much all year. I literally haven't used her the entirety of the year. She's just there collecting dust. She's just bad. Yeah, I feel sorry for people who invested in Jing Liu. That's besides the point. Topaz and Numby, an insanely strong character. She is the pretty much the catalyst for the follow-up attack teams. For most of them, mind you, she gets this 50% follow-up vulnerability, which is a straight up 50% damage increase, damage multiplier increase, which is insanely strong. She can be played skill point friendly, skill point positive. You can just make her a skill point battery. You don't really have to touch her skill unless her proof of death lands in a character that you don't want the proof of death on. So that's the only time you need to use the skill. Once you put it on the main boss, it's going to stay there forever. Yeah, Topaz and Numby is a really, really straightforward character. Like, she just provides a lot of follow-up attacks, which is a great battery for Robin. Let's say you're playing Robin as well. She's a great battery for Robin. She's a great battery for Fei Zhao as well. If you saw my Fei Zhao teammates video, Topaz and Numby actually came out on top, clearing a whole cycle earlier than Moza at E6. And this was Topaz and Numby at E0 S1, mind you. If had she been E1 S1, it would have been a little faster. But the thing is that for characters like Topaz, she is a sub DPS that is masquerading as kind of like a debuffer or a damage amplifier, right? And usually with damage amplifying characters, they have a light cone that helps them. And the only light cone that helps do that is her own light cone, which means that her signature light cone is probably a very, not a necessary pick, but a very strong pick that should be considered whenever you're thinking about getting Topaz and Numby, because having her just E0 S0, it is still good. You still get that 50% vulnerability damage bonus, but it's not as good as just having her light cone. Not as good for Dr. Ratio, not as good for Fei Zhao, because Fei Zhao, like, she needs all the damage amplifications that she can get, you know? So her kid's pretty self-explanatory. She is really old character, so most people already know how she works, so I'm not going to go into detail on how she works, but she is a very strong and solid character. She also has this added thing that her Topaz, like her little Numby, goes around and gets you stuff from the map. She gets you all the chests and stuff, which is really cool. So if you're struggling with that, that's also a thing you can do. And yeah, I mean, there's not really much more to say about Topaz and Numby. Her E1, like I said before, is really strong. But if I was you, like me, I'm debating on pulling Topaz and Numby because I'm going to pull heavily for Fei Zhao. So if I get an E2 Moza, I'm probably not going to end up pulling for Topaz and Numby, but I am going to end up pulling for her light cone, which I don't know if I should do it. Like, I don't know. It just depends. I'll leave it up to you guys whenever we are doing the stream, because I'm not going to be pulling for Linksha. I highly doubt that I'm going to be pulling for Linksha. So if I don't pull for Linksha, I may just drop for Topaz and Numby, which is fine because she is on the second half with Linksha, so it's fine. As far as a summon score, I think it just depends really. Like if you have 0 follow-up attack pieces, let's say you only have your Dr. Ratio, that's all you have in your follow-up attack team, then probably picking her up right now is not the best. Even though she does work with Dr. Ratio, just her and Dr. Ratio, they work just fine. If you don't have all the pieces to where she's going to be 100% useful, I mean, I don't know, like she's a really strong pick regardless, because you never know. Like, there may be a character like Fei Zhao may not resonate with you, Dr. Ratio may not resonate with you, Topaz and Numby may not resonate with you, but further on, there may be a character that's going to be a follow-up oriented character, and that character will resonate with you, and Topaz and Numby is going to be the best pairing for that character, because we're proving time and time again that every single follow-up attacker, the best partner is almost always Topaz and Numby. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 in the summon score, because I don't think she's as valuable as like pulling Sparkle per se. Okay, so I'm going to split it up, okay? If you don't have any pieces, I think picking her up is still good. If you don't have any piece whatsoever for follow-ups, I think I'm going to give her like a 6.5 to 7. And then if you do have follow-up attack pieces and you want to build a follow-up attack team, she goes all the way up to an 8. So anywhere from 7 to 8 out of 10 is Topaz and Numby. Fantastic pickup. I am heavily considering pulling a copy of her and her light cone as well. All right, Black Swan was one of the characters that I was the most excited about when she came out in Pentaconing 2.0. Very good design. She is very versatile. She can play her as a DPS and as a debuffer. For the most part, I play her as a debuffer because she does have that 20.8% defense reduction. And also I put the resolution process sweat light cone that an extra 16%. So with Black Swan's skill, mind you, skill that hits everybody, not everybody, hits 3 enemies on the field, you can implant 36% defense reduction on everybody on the field pretty much every turn, in any turn you want. Second of all, every single attack that she does implants a debuff, which is great for Akron, because this implants a debuff, this implants like 2 debuffs, and then her ultimate implants a few debuffs as well. She's really easy to stack with characters like Zhao Q and Kafka, obviously. So as a debuffer, she performs really similarly to Pella, even though Pella outshines her. The more characters are on the field, the more Pella outshines her, because Pella's ultimate hits everybody. She can only hit 3 at a time, but still, she deals more damage than Pella could ever dream of. So in that sense, they kind of like make it up. Her Epiphany is insanely strong, 25% damage vulnerability for 2 turns that you can exploit with ultimate oriented teams, because if you deal the damage during the opponent's turn, you get to take advantage of that 25% vulnerability from the Epiphany debuff. Aside from that, you can play her skill point neutral, you can play her skill point positive, you can skill once and then basic the rest of the match, because you only have to re-up this every 3 turns, and by 3 turns you already have ulted. Like, you already recovered 2 skill points by the time you do this. So she could be played skill point positive, she can be played skill point neutral, however you want to play her. She is an insanely strong character. I really like her. Also, if you are looking to enhance, if you already have her and you're looking to enhance her debuffing capabilities, especially in a, let's say for instance, a Acheron team or a Dot team, her E1 is probably one of the better E1s. It's very similar to Robin's E1, in which she reduces resistance respectively of wind, physical, fire, or lightning, depending on what dot it is. And because her Epiphany or her Arcana counts as everything, she reduces 25% resistance of all of these. So this is really strong to pick up if you are looking to enhance her both dot compositions and her debuffing compositions. So overall, an insanely strong character. Not hard to build. She needs speed and effect hit rate, pretty much. That's it. An attack. Pretty easy to pick up. Now, as far as her summon score, I don't think she is as valuable to pull as Jiao Xiao, because Jiao Xiao is just an overall better debuffer than her and everybody else in the game. So as a debuffer specifically, she is under Jiao Xiao. So as a debuffer, if Jiao Xiao is a 7 pull, she's probably like a 6. Now let's talk about Pure Fiction, because Pure Fiction, she pretty much gives you 40,000 score in Pure Fiction every single time. Black Swan is just insane in Pure Fiction. You do her technique, you start your Pure Fiction, and things just start dying left and right, especially if you have another character like, let's say, Jiao Xiao or Kafka, whatever. Like, if you have any of those characters that the dot is their thing, you're gonna see things die. You're gonna make it to the second wave, and you're not even gonna take a turn. Like, your turn hasn't come yet, and you're already in the second wave. It's insane. Black Swan is crazy in that sense. So it's really hard to gauge the necessity or the summon score for a character like Black Swan, because she has so many avenues where she is fantastic, but she's not the best in any of them by any means, right? So it's really hard. I think I'm going to give Black Swan a summon score of 6, because I don't think she's a character that everybody needs. I don't think anybody really needs a Black Swan in their account. It's a really nice pickup, like I said. If you need a debuffer, you probably already have Pella. If you want a stronger debuffer, you can pick up Jiao Q right now. The only way she is a 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 is if you are hunting for dot compositions. If you are gunning for dot and you already have Jiao Q ready, you already have your Kafka ready, and all you want is your Black Swan to complete it, then Black Swan is probably a 9 out of 10 for specifically dot compositions. But overall, I think she's sitting at around a 6 out of 10 if just to make things a little fair. And then kind of like a similar thing applies to Kafka, because Kafka just has one playstyle. You can't use her as a debuffer essentially, because she doesn't amplify anybody's damage. She's essentially a DPS that depends on dot characters to enable her damage. So if you don't have other characters there, put the dots on the units, Kafka doesn't do anything. So if you don't at least have Black Swan, you shouldn't really be pulling Kafka. That's just my opinion. Characters or enemies now are too tanky, enemies now are too strong for you to not have Black Swan in your dot composition. If you don't have Black Swan, then you don't pull Kafka. It's just as simple as that. Even if you do have Jiao Xiao, even if you do have Hunaifen, even if you do have whoever, you know, if you don't have Black Swan, you don't want Kafka. I don't really want to go, I'm not really going to go too in depth. Kafka pretty much re-triggers dots. So if Black Swan puts her Arcana stacks on it, and Kafka takes a turn, she can re-trigger the dots. With her ultimate, she can re-trigger the dots. She is a really strong. She has a follow-up on her kit, just because she can apply the lightning dot with her follow-up attack too. So she's really good in the sense that in the dot team, she's the best character to have as an enabler. She's pretty much the Topaz and Numby of dot. And right now it's really hard to say, because the game could just swap to a dot-oriented meta, to where Kafka is just going to be the de facto like Topaz and Numby. She can pretty much be the Topaz and Numby of dot, and she is. So if the game turns into a more dot-oriented composition or more dot-oriented meta, then Kafka's value will definitely increase. But right now, in the current state of the game, I don't think her pull value is that strong. And if you don't have Black Swan already, then her value is just on the ground. So I am going to give her a 4 out of 10 pull score or summon score. 4 out of 10 is pretty fair, because you really need all the other dot characters. You really need Black Swan at least. You need Black Swan at least. And if you have Black Swan, Jiao Xiao, and let's say Robin or Huahua, then yeah, you have all the pieces. Then Kafka is a great pick, because she will enable your team to deal pretty much double their own damage. So I think that's a fair summon score for Kafka. If you already have Black Swan, Jiao Q, and let's say you have Huahua, and you want to run a dot team that's going to be a team that you're going to heavily invest in, then yeah, she's an 8 out of 10. But since this is an overall for most people, she is probably one of the lowest characters I could rate. I can probably put her like a 4. Yeah, I think summon score of a 4 out of 10 is pretty fair for Kafka. All right, guys, that's going to be my analysis for the reruns for patch 2.5. Let me know in the comment section below, who are you looking forward to pulling in this patch? And until next time, guys, see ya.